pull up the chat real quick before you do it? Well, you might as well. Yeah. All right, we want to ask, can everyone see us and hear us? Okay. All right, real quick, we wanted to answer a question. Somebody asked a question about what do we think about the book or the information of the doctrine of the 12 holy apostles. And the reason I decided to come back on and answer this question is because we have a lot of people who've been running into this information lately. A lot of people who are probably new to the doctrine, probably new to the understanding of the Bible itself, are running into this information. And, you know, because they're running into this information, they see that it's new information that they think nobody else ever read before. So they take it and they run with it, you know, thinking this is something new, nobody else ever read this. This is, you know, things of that nature. So real quick, I wanted to first start off by saying that the book or the book that's called the Doctrine of the 12 Holy Apostles has a lot of good information in it. You understand? There is a lot of good information going into how Christ didn't eat meat. And as a matter of fact, the information when it goes into how Christ did not eat meat was true information. You understand? The only time he ate meat was during the Passover because that was the law that every man during the Passover had to eat the Passover lamb. And to show that, let's get Matthew chapter 20. Let's get Matthew chapter 27. Excuse me, let's get chapter 26. Let's get St. Matthew chapter 26, verse 17.
Matthew chapter 26, verse 17. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yeshua, saying unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover?
Read that again.
Where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover?
So this is going into the first day of the feast of unleavened bread. And this is the disciples asking Christ a question. They say, Where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? The question is, what is the Passover? Let's get Exodus, the 12th chapter. Yeah, hold the book of Matthew. Let's get Exodus, the 12th chapter, to show you what the disciples meant by what do you want us to do when it comes to preparing the Passover to eat the Passover. Let's start at verse 3. Exodus chapter 12, verse 3.
Exodus 12 and 3. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel.
So it says, Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, to let you know that all the congregation of Israel had to keep this statute. Read on.
Saying, In the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb.
So it says, they shall take to them every man a lamb. So every man within his household had to go get a Passover lamb. Read on.
According to the house of their fathers.
Read on.
A lamb for in the house.
So you had to get a lamb according to the house of your fathers, a lamb for a house. Every man had to do this. Read on.
Verse 4. And if the household be too little for the lamb.
And it says, and if the household be too little for the lamb. That means that if you might have a lamb, but yet you might only have 2 or 3 family members, and it'd be too much lamb for you and your family to eat together. So what would you do in that case? Read on.
Let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls.
So what you would do is you would split it and divide it with your neighbor. Read on.
Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb.
So it says, every man according to his eating shall make account for your lamb. Read on.
Verse 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
So it says the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 26.
Matthew chapter 26, verse 17. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yeshua, saying unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover?
So it says, Where wilt thou that we prepare thee for the Passover? So it was asking, where should we go, or what area should we prepare the Passover at? To let you know, we just read in Exodus the 12th chapter on what it means to prepare the Passover. Read on.
Verse 18. And he said, Go into the city to such a man, and say unto him, The master saith, My time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples.
Read that again.
I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples.
So Christ even kept the Passover with his disciples. Read on.
And the disciples did as Yeshua had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover.
And it says they made ready the Passover. We read the custom of making ready the Passover in Exodus the 12th chapter. Now when you read in verse 18, Christ says himself that I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples. So Christ even kept the Passover, and part of keeping the Passover was eating the Passover lamb. So the only time that Christ ate meat was during the Passover. So when you read about Christ not eating meat, that's true, but only during the time of the Passover, because it was a custom that you had to eat meat during the Passover. Let's get 1 Timothy, the 4th chapter. A lot of people run into this doctrine. I wanted to bring this out because a lot of people run into this doctrine without using the Bible to filter out this information. All this information that you go through is from the 2nd century AD. And a lot of this information has, even though it's good information, the Roman Catholic Church put their hands in a lot of this information, and a lot of early church, what you will call the same way you had scribes and Pharisees and Sadducees, you had other sects within the early church of the apostles. And these different sects were trying to bring forth different doctrines that were contrary to the Bible. Let's get 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1.
1 Timothy 4:1. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith.
So it says in latter times, it says that the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in latter times many shall depart from the faith. Read on.
Giving heed to seducing spirits.
So it says they shall give heed to seducing spirits. What shall these seducing spirits compel these people to do? Read on.
And doctrines of devils.
These seducing spirits would compel these people to teach doctrines of devils. Read on.
Verse 2. Speaking lies and hypocrisy.
And it says speaking lies and hypocrisies. We're going to read what some of these lies and hypocrisies actually are. Read on.
Having their conscience seared with a hot iron.
Read on.
Forbidding to marry.
So we see that according to the Bible, that it's a doctrine of devils to actually teach that it's forbidden for people to marry, to come together. Read on.
And commanding to abstain from meats.
Read that again.
And commanding to abstain from meats.
And it says, and commanding to abstain from meats. A lot of people don't understand that you had an early sect in Christianity during the time of the early church, during the time of the apostles, called the Ebionites. And this particular sect was teaching other people that it was wrong for them to eat meat, because their understanding was that before Adam sinned, we didn't eat meat. Mankind didn't eat meat. We only ate vegetation. The animals only ate vegetation. So now that Christ came and, to be that sacrifice, we no longer have to sacrifice animals. Therefore, we no longer have to eat meat, because the only time we ate meat in the Old Testament was for a sacrifice. So, when it came to their thought process, they were correct. They were 100% correct. But at the same time, it's not right for somebody to try to put that burden or that understanding on somebody's spirit if they're not ready for that, that understanding yet. You can't tell somebody, or it's a doctrine of devils to tell somebody that it's wrong to eat the meats that the Most High said were clean in the Old Testament. Because the Most High says that in the Leviticus, the 11th chapter, that there's actually meats that you can eat that are clean. So it's against the Most High to teach somebody or to tell somebody that they can't eat the meats that the Most High said are clean. Now, if somebody decides to, follow that lifestyle and be a vegetarian and things of that nature, that's good. And there's a lot of spiritual gifts and a lot of things that come through not eating meat. You understand? But you can't put that burden on somebody else. The same way somebody that might eat meat can't put the burden of, trying to force somebody who want to deal with vegetation. You can't try to force them to eat meat. You understand? It goes both ways. But you had this early church sect called the Ebionites who were trying to compel other people and force other people to eat meat and telling them that they were sinning because they decided that they wanted to continue to eat meat. And this particular sect was going so far as to actually changing around scriptures and changing around doctrinal understandings. Like when you read in the book of Matthew, when you read in the Gospels about St. John and how he ate only wild locusts and honey, they would switch that scripture around and say that wild locusts and honey meant pancakes and honey, as opposed to locusts and honey, to try to say that John the Baptist didn't eat meat. And they would try to do things like this all throughout the scriptures and change around doctrine to try to make it seem like, it was right for them to try to force other people not to eat meat. So unless you know the history and the understanding on where a lot of these doctrines actually come from, and unless you're able to filter these doctrines out through the Bible, you will start reading this stuff and you'll get caught up and you'll start trying to share with other people and get other people tossed and turned to and fro with every wind of doctrine. You understand? And that's the problem that we have with people going into these other books without being able to filter information through the Bible. So I would like to say to anybody that's entertaining that doctrine and that understanding, we would like to say that you at least try to continue your studies within the Bible before you go into other information and get tossed to and fro with every wind of doctrine. So that's it on